The stars look different out here. Admiral Kyle Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the endless black space through the main window. 3 months they had been traveling beyond the outer rim of known space. 3 months of silence and empty void. The crew was getting restless, but Morrison knew they were making history with every light year they covered. The Liberty was not a warship. She was built for exploration, for finding new worlds and new resources. Her hull was painted white with blue stripes, and her cargo holds were filled with scientific equipment instead of weapons. The crew of 800 was made up of scientists, engineers, and explorers. They had left Earth with dreams of discovery, not conquest. Commander Lisa Parker sat at the tactical station, her fingers dancing across the control panel. She had been in the Navy before joining the space program, and old habits died hard. Even on a peaceful mission, she kept the sensors running full scans of everything around them. It was Lisa who first spotted the anomaly. "Admiral, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors," she called out. Her voice was calm, but Morrison could hear the tension underneath. Multiple contacts moving in formation. Morrison walked over to her station and looked at the display. Dozens of red dots were arranged in a perfect grid pattern, moving toward their position. The formation was too precise to be natural, too organized to be anything but artificial. "Distance?" Morrison asked. 40,000 kilometers and closing. Lisa replied, "They're big, sir, much bigger than us." Captain Jake Sullivan left his post at the navigation console and joined them. He had been Morrison's friend for 20 years, through the academy and 3 different assignments. Jake was the kind of man who could stay calm in any situation, but Morrison could see worry in his eyes. "Could be a mining fleet," Jake suggested. "Or maybe traders, in perfect military formation?" Lisa shook her head. "I don't think so." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from the communications station. She was young, barely 25, but she had the best ears on the ship. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions. They're not using any language in our database." Morrison felt his stomach tighten. First contact with an alien species was something every explorer dreamed about, but not like this. Not with dozens of unknown ships approaching in battle formation. "Put it on speakers," he ordered, the bridge filled with strange sounds. Clicks and whistles mixed with deeper tones that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. It was clearly a language, but unlike anything any human had ever heard. "Are they trying to communicate with us?" Jake asked. "I think so," Amy replied. "The pattern suggests they're repeating the same message over and over." Morrison made a decision. That would change everything. Open a channel. All frequencies. Amy's hands flew over her controls. "Channel open, sir." "This is Admiral Kyle Morrison of the United Earthship Liberty. We are explorers from the planet Earth. Please identify yourselves." The alien transmission stopped. For a moment, the bridge was silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Then the speakers crackled to life again. "Attention, primitive vessel." The voice was mechanical, clearly translated by some kind of computer system. "You have entered territory claimed by the Galactic Empire. Prepared to be boarded and processed." Morrison felt his crew tense around him. Lisa's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon controls. Jake stepped closer to the captain's chair. Amy turned up the volume on the communications system. "This is Ambassador Zethric of the Imperial Fleet," the voice continued. "You will power down your engines and surrender your vessel immediately. Resistance will result in destruction." The main screen flickered and showed the approaching fleet. Morrison had seen many impressive sights in his career, but this took his breath away. The ships were massive, easily 10 times the size of the Liberty. They were black as space itself, with red lights running along their hulls like angry eyes. The lead ship was the largest, a kilometer-long monster that blocked out the stars behind it. "Your species will be evaluated for integration into the Empire," Zethric's voice boomed across the bridge. "Those found useful will be relocated to appropriate worlds. Those found lacking will be terminated. This is the natural order of the galaxy." Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. These were good people, brave people who had volunteered to fly into the unknown for the sake of discovery. They had families back on Earth, dreams, and hopes for the future. Now they were being told they would be enslaved or killed by aliens who saw them as nothing more than insects. The situation was terrifying. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and completely alone. The nearest Earth ship was 6 months away. No one would even know they were missing for years. They were facing the kind of overwhelming force that had probably crushed 1,000 other species. Morrison started to laugh. Began as a small chuckle, barely audible over the hum of the ship's systems. But it grew louder and deeper until it filled the entire bridge. The Admiral was laughing like he had just heard the best joke of his life. Jake stared at his friend in amazement. "Kyle, are you okay?" Morrison wiped tears from his eyes and looked at the massive alien fleet on the screen. "Did you hear that?" he asked. "They want us to surrender because they're bigger than us." Lisa blinked in confusion. "Sir?" "They think we're going to be scared," Morrison continued, his laughter becoming infectious. "They think we're going to beg for mercy because they have more ships." Captain Sullivan began to understand. A grin spread across his face. "They don't know us very well, do they?" Amy giggled despite herself. "They called us primitive." "Primitive," Morrison repeated, and the word set off another round of laughter from the crew. "They think we're primitive because we only have one ship." The laughter spread across the bridge like wildfire. The communications officer laughed until she snorted. The tactical officer laughed until she couldn't breathe. Even the serious young navigator was chuckling and shaking his head. Morrison activated the ship's external speakers, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention, Galactic Empire," he said, his voice carrying across space to every ship in the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Morrison of the human race. We decline your generous offer of slavery and death." The bridge erupted in cheers and applause. Someone whistled. Someone else shouted, "Hell yeah!" The crew of the Liberty had found their courage in the face of impossible odds. "Furthermore," Morrison continued, his voice now serious but still tinged with amusement, "we would like to inform you that you have just made the biggest mistake in your empire's history. You have threatened the wrong species." The transmission from the Empire ship crackled with confusion. "Explain your response, primitive being. Do you not understand your situation?" Morrison looked at his crew, these brave men and women who had followed him into the dark between stars. They were still smiling, still ready to fight even though they were facing certain death. This was humanity at its finest, and he was proud to be their leader. "Our situation?" Morrison asked. "Our situation is that we are humans. We have been preparing for this fight our entire history. Every war, every battle, every conflict on our world has been practiced for this moment. You want to know what makes us different from every other species you've conquered?" The bridge fell silent, waiting for his answer. "We've been dreaming of this fight since before we could even leave our home planet. We've been writing stories about it, making movies about it, planning for it, and now you're here and you want us to just give up?" Morrison's laughter returned, but now it was different. It was the laugh of a predator who had just spotted prey. It was the laugh of a warrior who had found a worthy enemy. It was the laugh that would echo across the galaxy and bring down an empire. "You should have done your homework before you came. Here," he said, "we are humans. We don't surrender. We fight." The silence that followed Admiral Morrison's declaration lasted exactly 17 seconds. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez counted every one of them as she watched the communications display. The Empire's massive ships hung in space like sleeping giants, their red lights pulsing in the darkness. Then Ambassador Zethrick's voice crackled through the speakers again. "Repeat your last transmission, primitive vessel. Our translators may have malfunctioned." Morrison looked at Commander Lisa Parker, who was trying hard not to smile. Captain Jake Sullivan had moved to the weapons console, even though the Liberty had no real weapons to speak of. The ship's defensive systems were designed to handle space debris and small asteroids, not enemy warships. "No malfunction," Morrison replied into the microphone. "We said we don't surrender, we fight." Colonel Ben Turner stepped onto the bridge at that moment. The head of the Liberty's Marine contingent was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. He had been in the mess hall when the alert sounded, and he still carried the smell of coffee and breakfast. Turner took one look at the main screen and whistled softly. "That's a lot of ships," he said quietly to Morrison. 237, Lisa reported from her station. "All of them bigger than us." Turner nodded and crossed his arms. "Good, I was worried this might be too easy." The Empire's transmission came through again, and this time there was clear confusion in the mechanical voice. "You claim you will fight. You have one small vessel, we have an entire fleet. Explain this illogical response." Morrison activated the ship's recording system. He wanted every word of this conversation saved for history. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Brooks report to the bridge. Brooks was the Liberty's second officer, a smart young man who had studied military history at the academy. He arrived within minutes, still buttoning his uniform jacket. Morrison nodded toward the communications station. "Brooks, I want you to draft our official response to the Empire. Keep it simple so they understand." Brooks looked at the massive fleet on the screen and grinned. "What should I tell them, sir?" "Tell them about us," Morrison said. "Tell them what it means to be human." While Brooks went to work, Morrison turned to Dr. Rachel Green, who had just arrived from the science deck. The xenobiologist was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. She carried a datapad filled with sensor readings from the Empire ships. "What can you tell me about them, Doctor?" Morrison asked. Rachel studied her notes. "Their ships are impressive looking, but there are some interesting things about the design. Look at this," she pointed to her datapad. "Those big weapons on the front of their ships? They're pointed forward only. They can't turn or adjust their aim very much." "Fixed forward guns," Jake said, "like old battleships." "Exactly. And look at their formation. Perfect grid pattern, no deviation." "They're not thinking like fighters? They're thinking like—" Rachel paused, searching for the right word. "Like bullies," Lisa finished. "They're used to scaring people, not fighting them." Morrison nodded. The Empire had clearly been successful for a long time using fear and intimidation. Their ships were built to look terrifying, not to be effective in combat. It was a strategy that had probably worked on hundreds of species, but humans were different. Brooks finished typing and looked up. "Ready, sir?" "Put it on all frequencies," Morrison ordered. "I want every ship in their fleet to hear this. And Amy, make sure this gets transmitted to every listening post within 50 light years. The whole galaxy needs to know what happened here." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Broadcasting now, sir." Morrison took the microphone and began to read Brooks' message. To the Galactic Empire and Ambassador Zethric. "This is Admiral Kyle Morrison representing the human race. You have demanded our surrender, and we have refused. You seem confused by this response, so let us explain. We are humans. We come from a planet called Earth. For the past 10,000 years, we have been fighting wars. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. We fought for food, for land, for freedom, for survival. We fought against nature, against disease, against each other, and against anything that threatened our existence. We have studied war like other species study art. We have written books about it, made movies about it, and taught our children about it. Every human child knows the stories of great battles from our history. We remember the names of warriors who died thousands of years ago. You see our single ship and think we are weak. You see our peaceful mission and think we are helpless. You are wrong. This ship carries the knowledge of every battle ever fought by humans. Every strategy, every tactic, every lesson learned in blood and fire. We did not come here looking for a fight, but we are not afraid of one. We have been preparing for this moment our entire history. We have been dreaming of meeting other species among the stars, but we also knew that some of them might be hostile. So we prepared for that too. You offer us slavery or death? We offer you something different. We offer you the chance to learn what it means to fight a species that has never known peace. We offer you the chance to discover why humans are the most dangerous predators our planet ever produced. You have made one mistake already. You assumed we would be afraid. You assumed we would surrender when faced with superior numbers. You assumed we were like every other species you have conquered. You were wrong about all of these things. Here is what we know about you. Your ships are built for show, not for fighting. Your weapons are designed to destroy defenseless targets, not to engage in combat. Your formations are perfect because you have never faced an enemy that could challenge them. Your entire strategy is based on fear, and fear does not work on humans. We have faced extinction before. We have been outnumbered before. We have been outgunned before. We have survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and disasters that would have destroyed other species. We are still here because we never give up. We never surrender, and we never stop fighting. This is your last chance to reconsider. Turn your ships around and leave. Find some other species to bully, find some other world to conquer. Because if you attack us, you will learn why humans are the most feared warriors in our part of the galaxy. Oh, and one more thing. We are not alone. The ship is just the beginning. There are more humans coming, lots more. And when they arrive, they will not be carrying scientific equipment. They will be carrying weapons designed by a species that has been perfecting the art of war for 10,000 years. You wanted to know why we are not afraid? Because we are humans. We are the species that looked at the dark between stars and decided to go there anyway. We are the species that turned every challenge into a weapon and every defeat into a lesson. We are the species that has been waiting our entire history for this moment. Welcome to the human galaxy. Try not to let the door hit you on the way out. Morrison finished reading and set down the microphone. The bridge was completely silent, as the crew absorbed what they had just heard. Then Colonel Turner started clapping slowly. The applause spread across the bridge until everyone was cheering. Think that got their attention? Jake asked. Morrison looked at the Empire fleet on the screen. The ships was still holding formation, but something had changed. Their perfect grid was starting to waver slightly. Some of the smaller ships were moving closer to the larger ones, like children hiding behind their parents. Amy, any response? From the Empire? Morrison asked. Amy listened to her headset for a moment. They're talking among themselves, sir. The translator is having trouble with some of the words, but I think they're arguing about what? About whether or not we're serious. Morrison smiled. They're about to find out. Ambassador Zethric stood in the command center of the Imperial flagship Dominion, staring at the tactical display with growing confusion. In his 300 years of service to the Empire, he had never encountered a situation like this. The primitive vessel continued to broadcast its defiant message, while his fleet of 237 ships waited for orders. Analysis complete, Ambassador, reported Subcommander Crix, his tactical advisor. The alien vessel is approximately 1/10 the size of our smallest destroyer. It carries no significant weapons that our sensors can detect. Its crew appears to number less than 1,000 individuals. Zethric's 4 eyes blinked slowly. And they refuse to surrender? Not only refuse, sir. They seem to find our presence amusing. Our xenopsychologists have never encountered this response pattern before. The Empire had a very simple system for dealing with new species. First, they would arrive with overwhelming force to demonstrate their power. Second, they would demand immediate surrender. Third, they would process the defeated species for integration into the Empire. It had worked perfectly for over 1,000 years across millions of worlds. Perhaps they do not understand the situation, Zethric suggested. Increase the display. Move the fleet closer. The massive Imperial ships began to advance, their engines creating a light show against the darkness of space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering designed to inspire fear and awe. The Dominion itself was over 1 kilometer long, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. The sight of the approaching fleet had caused the surrender. Of countless civilizations, aboard the Liberty, Chief Engineer Tony Martinez was having the time of his life. The 40-year-old engineer had been in the Navy for 15 years before joining the space program, and he had never forgotten the lessons learned during those tours of duty. As the Empire ships moved closer, he was already making modifications to the Liberty's systems. "Captain Sullivan, I need to speak with you." Martinez called out over the ship's intercom. Jake left the bridge and found Martinez in Engineering Section C, where the man was elbow deep in a control panel. Sparks flew as he rewired connections that had never been meant to be rewired. "Tony, what are you doing?" Jake asked. Martinez grinned and wiped sweat from his forehead. "Remember the old saying, any tool can be a weapon if you hold it right? Yeah, but this is a science ship. We don't have weapons." "We don't have military weapons," Martinez corrected. "But we have mining lasers for asteroid sampling. We have electromagnetic field generators for collecting space dust. We have ion thrusters for navigation. We have communication arrays that can punch through solar radiation." Jake began to understand. "You're turning our equipment into weapons, not just weapons. A whole weapons system. Give me 2 hours and I'll have this ship ready to fight." Meanwhile, on the bridge, navigation. Officer Greg Collins was studying the tactical display with the intensity of a chess master. The Empire ships were moving in perfect formation, following patterns that had probably been used for centuries. It was impressive, but it was also predictable. "Admiral," Collins called out, "I need to show you something." Morrison joined him at the navigation station. Collins pointed to the display showing the asteroid field they had been exploring when the Empire arrived. "Look at how they're positioned," Collins said. "They're staying in open space, avoiding the asteroids completely. Their ships are too big to maneuver in tight spaces," Morrison nodded. "They're used to fighting in empty space against opponents who come right at them." "Exactly. But what if we don't fight the way they expect?" Dr. Rachel Green had been studying the Empire's ship designs, and she was starting to see patterns that worried her. Not worried because the Empire was too strong, but worried because they might be too weak. "Admiral," she said, approaching Morrison with her datapad, "I've been analyzing their technology. These ships are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly specialized." "What do you mean?" "They're built for one purpose: intimidation and bombardment of stationary targets. Look at their weapon placement, all forward-facing. Their engines are designed for straight-line movement, not maneuvering. Their hulls are thick, but not flexible." Morrison studied the data. "They're not built for ship-to-ship combat. They're built for destroying planets and space stations, for fighting enemies who can't fight back. I don't think they've faced a mobile opponent in centuries." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez suddenly looked up from her communications station. "Admiral, I'm picking up transmissions from the Empire fleet. They're not encrypted." "What are they saying?" Amy listened to her headset and began translating. "The ship commanders are asking for orders. They want to know when to begin the bombardment. But Ambassador Zethric is telling them to wait." "Wait for what?" "I think they're confused, sir. They keep asking why we haven't surrendered yet. One of them is suggesting that maybe we didn't understand their first message." Morrison almost started laughing again. The Empire had been so successful for so long that they had forgotten how to deal with resistance. They were like a boxer who had only fought opponents with their hands tied behind their backs. "Amy, open a channel to the Empire fleet." "Channel open, sir." "Ambassador Zethric, this is Admiral Morrison. We have reviewed your offer and our answer remains the same. We will not surrender. If you wish to proceed with hostilities, you may. Do so at your convenience. We will be waiting." The response came quickly. "Admiral Morrison, you persist in this illogical behavior. We will give you one final opportunity to reconsider. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. Martinez had finished his modifications. Collins had plotted their course through the asteroid field. Dr. Green had identified the Empire's weaknesses. Colonel Turner had his Marines standing by. Everyone was in position. "Negative, Ambassador, we are humans. We do not surrender to bullies." The Empire's reply was immediate and final. Then you will be destroyed. All ships prepare for bombardment. Morrison activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, this is the Admiral. The Empire has decided to attack. This is not a drill. We are about to make history. In a few minutes, we will show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens the human race. Remember who you are? Remember what you represent? We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every species that have ever been bullied by the Empire. We are fighting for freedom itself. The Empire fleet began to move into bombardment. Formation. Their massive ships arranged themselves in a perfect line, their forward weapons targeting the Liberty. It was an impressive sight, like a wall of death moving through space. Admiral, they're charging their weapons, Lisa reported. Energy readings are off the charts. Collins, get us moving. Martinez, are your modifications ready? Ready and waiting, sir, Martinez replied from the engineering deck. Turner, are your people in position? Locked and loaded, Admiral. The Colonel's voice came through the intercom. Morrison watched the Empire ships complete their formation. 237 vessels, each one capable of destroying the Liberty with a single shot. It was exactly the kind of impossible situation that humans had been facing their entire history. Amy, record this message for transmission to Earth, Morrison said. Tell them we found the Empire. Tell them we made first contact. Tell them we did not surrender. Tell them we fought like humans. The Empire's weapons began to glow as they prepared to fire. The Liberty was completely outnumbered, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. Any reasonable species would have surrendered long ago, but humans had never been reasonable. All stations, prepare for combat, Morrison ordered. Show them what we're made of. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The first blast from the Empire's weapons lit up space like a miniature sun. The energy beam was so powerful it could have vaporized a small moon, but it struck empty space where the Liberty had been just seconds before. Navigation Officer Gregg? Collins had already moved the ship behind a large asteroid, using the rock as a shield. Direct hit on our previous position, Commander Lisa Parker reported from the tactical station. If we had stayed there for another 3 seconds, we would be space dust. Admiral Morrison felt the ship shake as debris from the destroyed asteroid peppered their hull. Damage report. Minor hull damage. All systems operational, came the reply from Chief Engineer Tony Martinez over the intercom. But, Admiral, we can't keep playing hide-and-seek forever. They have too many ships. Ambassador Zethric stood in the command center of the Dominion, staring at the tactical display with growing frustration. His weapons officers had reported direct hit, but the human ship was still there, still moving, still defiant. How did they escape? He demanded. They moved at the last second, Sub-Commander Crix replied. Our targeting systems were locked onto their position, but they anticipated our firing pattern. Impossible. No species has ever avoided our opening bombardment. Perhaps they were lucky, Ambassador. Zethric's 4 eyes narrowed. Fire again? All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. The Liberty darted between asteroids like a fish. Swimming through coral, Captain Jake Sullivan had taken direct control of the ship's movement, using his 20 years of piloting experience to navigate spaces that the Empire's massive ships couldn't follow. They're trying to surround us, Collins reported from his navigation station. Smaller ships are moving to block our escape routes. Morrison nodded. Time to show them what Martinez has been working on. Tony, you're up. Down in the engineering section, Martinez activated his modifications. The Liberty's mining lasers, originally designed to cut through asteroid rock, suddenly turned toward the approaching Empire ships. The electromagnetic field generators, meant for collecting space dust, began jamming the Empire's communication systems. The ion thrusters, normally used for fine navigation, became weapons that could disable enemy ships. Firing mining lasers, Martinez announced, the beam that struck the first Empire ship was not designed for combat, but it was designed to cut through solid rock. The alien vessel's hull, built more for appearance than durability, split open like a ripe fruit. Atmosphere vented into space as the ship spun out of control. "Impossible," Zethric whispered as he watched one of his destroyers drift helplessly, with a hole punched through its center. Their weapons readings showed no significant armament. "They're using industrial equipment as weapons," Crix reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Mining tools, construction equipment, navigation systems. Everything on their ship has been turned into a weapon." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez intercepted Empire communications and began translating. "Sir, they're panicking. I'm hearing reports of confusion, equipment failures, and requests for new orders." "What kind of equipment failures?" Morrison asked. "Their communication systems are being jammed. Their targeting computers are malfunctioning. Some of their ships are reporting engine problems." Dr. Rachel Green looked up from her analysis station. "Admiral, I think I know what's happening. Their ships are so advanced that they rely completely on computer systems. When we jam their communications, we're not just stopping them from talking to each other. We're disrupting their entire operational network," Morrison began to understand. "They're not used to fighting independently. They're used to fighting as a coordinated unit with computer assistance." "Exactly. Take away their computers and they don't know how to fight." Colonel Ben Turner's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, request permission to launch boarding." "Parties," Morrison looked at the tactical display. Several Empire ships were drifting helplessly, their systems disabled by Martinez's electronic warfare. "Permission granted, Colonel." "Show them what human Marines can do." Turner had been waiting for this moment. The Liberty's cargo bays opened and small shuttles launched toward the disabled Empire ships. Each shuttle carried a squad of human Marines, armed with weapons that would have been considered primitive by Empire standards. But the Empire had never faced opponents who knew how to use primitive weapons effectively. The first boarding party reached an Empire destroyer within minutes. The aliens inside were tall, thin creatures with pale skin and large eyes. They had been bred for intelligence and technical skill, not for physical combat. When the humans broke through their airlock, the Empire crew panicked. "They're not soldiers," Turner reported from inside the alien ship. "They're technicians. They don't know how to fight." The Empire's ground forces had been trained for crowd control and suppressing unarmed populations. They had never faced determined opponents who fought back. The human Marines, trained in combat since childhood, moved through the ship like deadly shadows. "Engineering section secured," Turner reported. "We have control of their power systems." "Medical base secured?" "Their crew is surrendering without resistance." "Bridge secured. We have their captain." Morrison watched as one by one the Empire ships began to go dark. Not destroyed, but captured. The humans were taking their ships intact along with their crews and technology. Ambassador Zethric realized he was watching the impossible. His fleet, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, was being defeated by a single human ship. Not destroyed, but outfought by opponents who used mining equipment as weapons and treated his advanced warships like prizes to be won. "All ships, retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "Regroup for coordinated assault?" But the Empire fleet had lost its coordination. Without their communication network, the ships were operating independently. Some tried to retreat, others tried to continue the attack, and still others simply held position waiting for orders that never came. "They're falling apart," Lisa observed from the tactical station. "Their formation is breaking up." Morrison activated the ship's external speakers. "Ambassador Zethric, this is Admiral Morrison. We have captured 12 of your ships and taken 300 prisoners. They are being treated well according to human military tradition. Are you ready to discuss terms?" The response came back filled with static and fury. "This is impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot defeat the Empire." "Ambassador, we are defeating the Empire, right now, in front of your eyes. The question is whether you want to continue losing ships and crews, or whether you want to end this before more of your people get hurt." Martinez's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy buildup from their flagship. I think they're preparing to fire their main weapon, Morrison nodded. The Empire's last resort would be to use their most powerful weapon, regardless of the cost to their own ships. Collins plot a course directly at the flagship, full speed. Sir, that's suicide. No, that's tactics. They think we're going to run away because they have a big gun. They're wrong. The Liberty accelerated toward the Dominion, weaving between the confused Empire ships. The massive flagship began to turn, trying to bring its main weapon to bear on the approaching human vessel. They're too slow, Collins reported. Their ship is too big to maneuver quickly. Martinez, I need everything you've got. All power to engines and shields. You've got it, Admiral. The Liberty streaked toward the Empire flagship like a bullet fired from a gun. The Dominion's crew watched in horror as the tiny human ship approached, on a collision course showing no signs of slowing down or changing direction. They're going to ram us, Crix whispered. Zethric stared at the approaching ship. They're insane. They're going to destroy themselves just to damage us. But the Liberty didn't ram the Dominion. At the last second, the ship rolled and fired every weapon it had into the flagship's bridge section. Mining lasers, electromagnetic pulses, and ion beams struck the Empire's command center simultaneously. The lights went out aboard the Dominion as its systems shut down one by one. The most powerful ship in the Empire fleet was dead in space, its crew stunned and helpless. This is Admiral Morrison to the Empire fleet, the human's voice echoed across space. Your flagship is disabled, your fleet is scattered. Your coordination is gone. Surrender now, and we will treat you with honor. Continue fighting, and we will show you what humans do to bullies. The Empire's response was silence. The silence lasted for 37 minutes. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the scattered Empire fleet through the main view screen. Dozens of their ships drifted powerless in space. Others moved in confused circles, their crews unsure what to do without orders from the flagship. The mighty Galactic Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, had been broken by a single human exploration vessel. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez broke the silence. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Empire flagship. Put it through. AmbassadorZethric's voice came through the speakers, but it was different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something the Empire had not felt in centuries: fear. Admiral Morrison, this is Ambassador Zethric. I request permission to come aboard your vessel under a flag of truce. Morrison looked at his crew. Commander Lisa Parker was monitoring the tactical situation, making sure no Empire ships were preparing for a surprise attack. Captain Jake Sullivan was coordinating with the boarding parties that were still securing captured vessels. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez was working to repair the damage from the battle. Permission granted, Ambassador. You may dock with our main cargo bay, come alone and unarmed. Understood? 20 minutes later, Ambassador Zethric stood in the Liberty's briefing room, flanked by 2 human Marines. The alien leader was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and 4 large black eyes. His uniform was decorated with medals from 100 conquered worlds, but now he looked small and defeated. Morrison entered the room with Dr. Rachel Green and Colonel Ben Turner. The Admiral studied the alien for a moment before speaking. Ambassador, you wanted to discuss terms? Zethric's 4 eyes blinked slowly. I do not understand what happened here today. Our fleet was superior in every way. Our weapons were more powerful. Our ships were larger. Our technology was more advanced. Yet you defeated us. We didn't defeat your technology, Morrison explained. We defeated your strategy. You've been winning battles for so long that you forgot how to fight them. I have studied the records of this engagement. You used mining equipment as weapons. You turned communication systems into jamming devices. You used industrial tools to disable our ships. This should not have been possible. Dr. Green leaned forward. Ambassador, may I ask how long it has been since the Empire faced serious resistance? Zethric considered the question. Perhaps 300 years. The last species to offer meaningful resistance was the Corvani, but they were quickly overwhelmed. What happened to species that resisted? They were destroyed or enslaved. It is. The natural order, Morrison shook his head. No, Ambassador. That's not the natural order. That's what happens when bullies aren't stopped. But we stopped you. You are one ship. The Empire has thousands of fleets across the galaxy. Had, Morrison corrected. Past tense. Because what happened here today is going to change everything. Turner activated a holographic display showing the tactical recording of the battle. Ambassador, do you know what this is? It is a record of our defeat. It's an instruction manual. We've been broadcasting this entire engagement to every corner of the galaxy. Every species that has ever been conquered by the Empire has seen how we beat you. They've seen that you can be defeated. Zethric's eyes widened in horror. You cannot. Double quotes are already coming in, Amy said from the communications station. Rebellions have started on 17 worlds. 3 entire star systems have declared independence. The Corvani have reformed their military and are attacking Empire bases. Morrison stood up and walked to the view screen. Ambassador, your empire is falling apart. Not because we destroyed it, but because we showed everyone it could be destroyed. You ruled through fear, and fear only works as long as people believe you can't be beaten. What do you want? Zethric asked quietly. We want you to leave, all of you. Go back to your homeworlds and learn to live in peace. The age of the Empire is over, and if we refuse? Morrison turned back to the alien leader. Then you'll face something the Empire has never faced before. You'll face a united galaxy that knows how to fight back. You'll face species that have learned your weaknesses. You'll face the human race, and we've just gotten started. Dr. Green pulled up star charts on the display. We've been in contact with resistance groups across the galaxy. They're sharing information, coordinating attacks, learning from each other. The Empire's communication network that you use to control your territory is now being used against you. This is impossible. The Empire has ruled for over 1,000 years. We have brought order to the galaxy. You brought fear, Turner said. And when the fear stops working, you have nothing left. Morrison returned to his seat. Ambassador, I'm going to make you an offer, the same offer you made to us, but in reverse. You can surrender now, and we'll treat you with honor. Your people can return to their homeworlds and live in peace. Or you can continue fighting, and we'll show you what a galaxy united against tyranny can do. Zethric stared at the human admiral. You would spare us? We're not conquerors, Ambassador. We're explorers. We came out here to find new worlds and new species. We wanted to make friends, not enemies. You forced this fight on us. But you could destroy us now. You could take our ships, our technology, our worlds, Morrison smiled. We could. But that would make us just like you. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it. We want to learn from other species and share what we know. We want to build something better than what you created. Amy looked up from her station. Admiral, I'm receiving reports from across the galaxy. The rebellion is spreading faster than we expected. Entire sectors are declaring independence. The Empire's military is deserting in massive numbers. How long do you think the Empire has? Morrison asked Zethric. The ambassador considered the question. Perhaps months, perhaps weeks. Without the fear of retaliation, our subject species will rebel. Without the threat of our fleets, our own military will abandon their posts. The Empire will collapse. Then you have a choice to make. You can go down with it, or you can help us build something better. What do you mean? Dr. Green activated another display. We're proposing a galactic alliance. A confederation of free worlds that work together by choice, not by force. Each species keeps its independence but shares resources, knowledge, and protection. And humans would lead this alliance? Morrison laughed. No, Ambassador. Nobody would. Lead it, that's the point. We've seen what happens when one species tries to rule all the others. The alliance would be governed by representatives from all member worlds, making decisions together. Zethric was quiet for a long moment. The Empire will never accept this. The Empire doesn't have to accept it. The Empire is finished. The question is whether you personally want to be part of the solution or part of the problem. What would happen to me? To my people? You'd be treated like any other species. Your crimes would be judged by the Alliance, but your people would be free to govern themselves. You'd have the same rights and responsibilities as everyone else. Turner pulled up another display. We've already received applications from 67 species that want to join the Alliance. They're sharing technology, resources, and knowledge. The scientific advances in the past few hours have been incredible. And they trust you? After what you did to our fleet. They trust us because we kept our word, Morrison explained. We said we would treat your prisoners with honor, and we did. We said we would defend against bullies, and we did. We said we wanted to explore and learn, and we're doing that. Amy raised her hand. Admiral, priority message from Earth. What does it say? Congratulations on successful first contact. More ships are being prepared for launch. Earth wants to know if we need backup. Morrison looked at the scattered Empire fleet outside. Tell Earth we have the situation under control. Tell them to prepare for a lot of new neighbors. He turned back to Zethric. Ambassador, what's your decision? The alien leader stood up slowly. I will return to my ship and contact the Empire leadership. I will recommend full surrender and participation in your alliance. And if they refuse, then I will do what I should have done centuries ago. I will do what is right instead of what is ordered. Morrison stood and extended his hand. Welcome to the free galaxy, Ambassador. Zethric looked at the offered hand, then slowly reached out and shook it. I think I am beginning to understand why you laughed at us. Why is that? Because you were not afraid. You were happy. You were happy to finally meet the enemy you had been preparing to fight your entire history. Morrison smiled. We weren't preparing to fight you specifically, Ambassador. We were preparing to fight anyone who tried to take our freedom away. Today that happened to be you. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we explore the galaxy together, as equals, as friends. Outside the Liberty, the first ships of the new Galactic Alliance were already arriving. The age of the Empire was over. The age of freedom had begun, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, the sound of human laughter still echoed, carrying with it the promise that no bully would ever again threaten the peace of the galaxy.